A very good evening to you from the sports desk. As you've heard earlier on, the SABC, the national broadcaster, will broadcast tomorrow's Springboks versus All Blacks Rugby Championship match, which takes place at Ellis Park. SuperSport made the announcement following behind-the-scenes negotiations. Now, those negotiations involved South African breweries, and more on this, we are joined by Vaughan Croeser, Vice President for Marketing at South African Breweries. Vaughan, a very good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Kwena, and good evening to your listeners.
Vaughan, let's start right there. I mean, why was it important for you as South African breweries to be involved in these negotiations?
Look, sport is such a unifying thing in our country, and making this match possible and accessible to millions of viewers was really a very easy decision for us.
And I mean, what necessitated that? Was it basically that millions of South Africans were not able to watch the national team at play?
Yes, we had a similar situation during the Rugby World Cup in 2023, where we did the same thing. And I think this initiative reflects Castle Lager's ongoing commitment to supporting South Africa's sports and increasing the access of our national teams to foster that sense of pride amongst fans.
One would say that, I mean, this is an issue between broadcasters. So what's in it for a company like yourself, as SA Breweries?
Look, we've always said that we're a product of moderation, a product of celebration. And I think this initiative exemplifies the ethos of Castle Lager, of really bringing people together. So it just allows us to get all rugby enthusiasts nationwide to come together and enjoy the match.
And I mean, we heard earlier on the sports minister talking about the parties that were involved in this and how important it is to also take this match as a celebration of the 30 years of democracy in South Africa. Is that also part of your involvement in being part of this big celebration, this big match that all South Africans and the rugby world is looking forward to?
Yes, look, we have a proud history of decades-long sponsorship of our national teams. So partnering with the rights holders and the broadcasters is something that we have been doing consistently for many years. And I think what it also shows is a commitment to the development of sport in the country, because when you make it accessible, I think you can inspire the next generation of sports stars. And I think it contributes to the development of sport in our national teams.
And also, I mean, you speak about the development, knowing very well that if you look at most of the national teams that we have, South African Breweries has always been involved in this. Could this be the start maybe of other arrangements like this? Because this, understandably, is just a once-off.
Yes, it's like I said, it's a once-off, but we have done it previously during the Rugby World Cup. But we are very much anchored in these sports sponsorships, and we see it as a way to celebrate the achievements of the country and its sporting heroes, and just reinforcing our connection to these national teams. You know, we sponsor Bafana Bafana. We are proud sponsors of the cricket, the Proteas cricket team. So it really is an ongoing commitment, and we will continue to endeavor to make sport more accessible.
Let's maybe end on that, Vaughan. Just look at, as you say, involved in, the big sports, as it were, your soccer, your cricket, your rugby. Looking at the role of sponsor and partnerships like this, how important is it for multinationals, for big corporates like yourself, to get involved in sports, even going lower as grassroots?
I think it is absolutely critical. I think sport plays a very important role in bringing people together. And when our teams perform well, I think it inspires a lot of hope. And it shows us what is possible when South Africans, when multinationals, when people come together, it shows them what is possible. And I think that is the wonder of sport, and why we do keep investing in it. Because this investment also helps the development of the sport. And the better we are funded, the better our coaches and administrators are, the better the sports will perform. And that will attract more viewership, which makes it commercially more viable for us. So I think that is definitely one of the important factors involved here.
I mean, you said earlier on, Vaughan, that this has happened before in the Rugby World Cup, but maybe to look at it, and I know the minister is quite passionate about this, having this once off, is it something that you're looking at maybe to have a long-term discussion with both parties to make sure that this is not a once-off thing that happens occasionally, but for South Africans to know that the national teams will be available for millions to watch and enjoy?
Look, it is certainly in our interest and in the interest of the rights holders and government for as many people as possible to have access to it. And we will do everything in our power to play a part in it. And we have a good track record of doing things like this. And it's certainly something that we'll continue to look at.
Vaughan Croeser, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. Appreciate your time and your insight, Vaughan Croeser. Speaking to us there about that big announcement that was made earlier on by the national broadcaster, SuperSport, and the Sports Ministry, and also South African Rugby Union, that the match between the Springboks and the All Blacks will be live to South Africans on the national broadcaster tomorrow.